how everyone views Native Americans in television and films. That we're not savages, that we're not killers, that we don't hate people, that we have our own story, we have our own culture, we have kids, we have houses, we got everything, because there's no respect for Native Americans in the United States. The real owners of this country, they still live in reservation in places where they're not supposed to. These people should be in charge. These people should be well taken care of, but we're not.
Stay tuned, stay curious. Enculturation Podcast. Today, we have a very special guest, Dionicio Virvez. He is a Native Mayan Guatemalan actor, and he's here to talk about his experiences in Hollywood. He's had such roles starring in the Ghost Nation Warrior in the HBO series Westworld, and also National Geographic television series Is It Real? And also the upcoming movie from Apple and Martin Scorsese, Killers of the Flower Moon. Welcome, Dionicio. I'm so happy to have you here. I'm very interested in your story and your perspectives, right? Because I think it's a known fact that the Native side is not well covered, and the roles that Natives do have is usually funneled into a certain typecast, right? So it's so great to have someone be able to provide a voice to that. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks, Ben. And it's been a long time coming. We have planned this meeting for a couple of months now, but finally we have to. We're here, and we're just happy to talk about my story. And I want to thank you for having me here today, and also sharing my story with you and with your audience.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for trusting me and trusting the platform, right? So I hope I know together we'll provide some value here.
Oh yeah, I'm going to try my best, but definitely it's going to be a good topic to talk about.
Yeah. So I guess we can start with how you got into acting, because was it something that you always aspired to do, or like you got inspired to do, or how did it fall into your lap?
When I was a little kid, 11, 12, I used to go to my friend's house because he was the only one who has a black and white TV, and then I would go and watch the Saturday matinee. The Saturday matinee, it was all about martial arts, and then I would go and watch martial arts there, and I was so blown up by how they make these movies, how these guys, these fighters, these warriors, they fly and fight in the middle of the air and all that stuff. I was so shocked and said, how did they do this? I mean, and I just kept in my mind, and then I said, I would love to do something like that. And that's how it started in my mind when I was a kid. That's how I started doing that. Thinking of one day I wanted to do something like that, but of course, you're just a kid. Yeah, it was just a dream. But and then I got years goes by, and I got inspired by these main Asian actors like Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, and all of these great martial artists.
So were you inspired by their physical prowess, or like the martial or the movement side inside cinema?
Yeah, the cinema itself. How they fight, how they fly, how they move, and all that stuff. But also martial art. It was the main thing why I got into the films, because I love martial art. I guess martial arts is one of the most important thing for you to do if you wanted to become an actor. That was me. Yeah, I want to be like them, but first I wanted to start martial arts. Maybe that's the only way to gain, right?
Yeah. So how did you go from being inspired by the martial arts movies to actually getting into the industry?
So this is a funny thing. Back in 1984, there was these little schools popping up everywhere. I guess it was due to how popular movies were back then in 1984. I mean, martial art movies, ninja movies, all of these, they were like popular, so popular back in those days. And then everybody wants to be Bruce Lee, everybody wants to be Jackie Chan and all that stuff. But I guess I wanted to be that. And the first thing that I did is just to go to school. So I signed up for this small school next to where I used to live. I remember the name of it. It was called Martial Art Movie Association. And this place, it's just, basic training into martial art. And I took Taekwondo because there's different styles, right? And then I took Taekwondo. And this guy happened to be a martial art choreographer for films. That was a funny thing, and I guess that was the right place to be for me, because he happens to be a martial art choreographer. So they're also hiring extras to be in movies, fighters and all that stuff. So I guess I was in the right place. So that was it. That was my introduction to films, to martial art.
So you were at this school, and then even though the teacher was the choreographer for cinema, right? Like, did you approach him and did he give you a job, or how did you get your first job?
Well, actually, yeah. My first job was it was called Deadly Ninja. I remember that one, and. Usually, they post in schools. They post notice. There's a little spot where you could, see every updates and from the schools or notice and things like that. And I saw this little paper there on the board, and it says martial art company needs extras for film, and no pay. And I told myself, "Oh my God, this is it." I mean, I'm in. Yeah, so I didn't think about it twice. I just went inside the office and I told my teacher, I want to be an extra in that film. So why should I do and all that stuff? And then he just took my name because I was a student there already, and I was happy. That was it. It was like, for me, it was like, it was the sky opened up, and I was just ready, and that was it. That was my first. Experience on set on that film, 80s film.
Yeah, so let's backtrack a little bit, right? Because I know you're from Guatemala. Would you have these ideas to become an actor when you were in Guatemala, or then how did you even get from Guatemala to here?
Not at all. When you live in places like Guatemala and yes, there is dreams. Yes, there is hopes. Yes, there is faith on all that stuff. And how can you make it happen? It's impossible. I say it's impossible because I was born in a shanty town in Guatemala. It's called Santa Eulalia, and I mean, there's nothing there to look forward. Yeah, I mean, you would have to have some sort of view of what you want in life, and then I just kind of have that one by watching martial arts on TV. So that was.
So you started watching these movies even when you were in Guatemala.
Yes, okay. Yes, and again, I think my friend was the only one in my block that has TV, because having a TV in countries like that, it's impossible. You have to have a lot of money. You have to be loaded to have a TV. And I remember the black and white TV, and then I would go over there and just watch those programs, and that's how it started.
Yeah, I remember my experience growing up in Vietnam. There was a household that had also the TV, right? This household had a TV, and this particular resident had also a Super Nintendo or Nintendo, right? And then nowadays it's easy to for every household to have one, right? But he was the only one on the block that had it, and then he rented time for people to come and play it. Yeah, that's how scarce it was.
Yeah, and when you're there, it's like man, I just couldn't wait to come out of school and just go over there and watch TV. And that was the power of TV back in those days, because TV was barely coming up. I mean, it started way early, but actually seeing a live TV there, it was to me that was all it.
Yeah. So like, what was the experience of your first job, and then what did it feel like to actually have this role under your belt? From having just the idea, but now you're like, hey, I just did my first movie.
Yeah. I mean, the feeling it's unbelievable. Even though you're just an extra, even though you're just part of that project, even if you're just like standing right there, you have that feeling of watching something that you wanted to be in, that you wanted to experience. It's wonderful, and that particular project, all I did is just fight against this guy, and there were a bunch of us right there on that particular scene. We were just like fighting, mimicking fight and all that stuff. That was it. But for me, it was a great experience, and I said, "Oh, that was my first movie," And then we're talking about back in the '80s. Yeah, I was so happy. I was just part of the world that I wanted to be in, And again, that was it. I was so happy. I was so excited to keep going.
Yeah. So speaking of keeping going, how did you keep going from your first gig? Because you obviously made a career out of it, right? And was it just showing up wherever there's opportunity, or how did you carve your way into the industry?
Oh, man, it's a tough one. So when I had that first experience in on that particular project, to me it's just a very tiny project. But so once I started there, I thought myself, well, this is easy. From '85 till late '80s, the late '80s, '89, pretty much. I didn't do nothing. That's probably that's probably the worst experience that any upcoming actor would go through. Is that you when you wanted to start your career in Hollywood, you have a view, but the path to get there, it's hard. Yeah. So during that time, I told myself, this is easy. I'm already in, so I'll be okay. No, I knocked so many doors, man. Years, nothing. It just didn't work for me. So at one point, I decided, this is not me. This is not for me. So gradually, that dream, it was slowly dying within. Because I couldn't find anything, years. And but here's the thing, that you have to have faith in you. You have to have hope. You have to sacrifice for something that you want to do in life. And that's it. It's all about, being patient. I never give up. Of course, there's time that, you just like, okay, not no more.
What kept you going when all the doors were closed?
Well,
what kept you holding on?
Well, okay, I remember my mother used to tell me that that when you die, you die twice. And then I asked my mom, what does that mean? When you die, that you die twice. So she said that if you want something in life, you have a dream in life, you gotta keep that life. You gotta keep that dream going. Yeah, and then if you die, you taking that dream with you. That dream dies also. So that was something that I kept in mind, and I said, no, I gotta. My mom said that you gotta keep going, no matter what happens. You gotta keep going after that dream. So I just kept going. I sacrificed pretty much for it. That's what back in those days, that was the right word. It's all about sacrificing, because it was tough, man. Working in Hollywood back in the early age, it was tough.
Yeah. So help me understand what tough means as far as the context of working in Hollywood in the 80s? Was it because there was just any opportunity, or were people actively denying you based on whatever reasons?
Oh, pretty much. I would say pretty much everything. You have everything against you. First, the look. Back in those days, I usually heard the word commercial people, good-looking people, nice-looking people. That's the people that comes out on TV, on cinema. Back in those days, you have to have that to come. That was one of the things, and the other things, of course, discrimination against minority, and it was a lie back then. They will just look at you like, no, this is not your world. You don't belong here. Yeah. So that's another one. The other one, it's the language barrier, and that was another thing too. So if you don't speak the right, right, if you don't say the right word, if you don't write the right word, if you don't, pronounce the right word, you're pretty much, out. Even though you have the look what they're looking for, you're not cut up for it. You're not good for it, and that's just some of it. Some of the barriers that you encounter in Hollywood. Not to mention your everyday thing. Like you have to work, and then you have to go audition. You have to travel, in long places just to go an audition or just to drop off your resume. It was a lot of work. Like for example, I used to live back in those days. I used to live in downtown LA, and then most of the studios that were like not in LA itself. It was around the city, and I didn't have no car, but I did. I had to use buses, and buses you have to wait at least half an hour, 15 minutes to half an hour just to wait for the bus, and then pick you up, and then next stop, and then get out of there, and then take another bus, and then next stop. So easily you would take about a couple of hours just to get there, just to drop off or go on audition and then come back again. And then that's a time killing right there. So it was a sacrifice. I remember I used to start working at 4 a.m, and then I would get home at 1 o'clock just to sleep a couple of hours.
So you worked 4 a.m. and got home at 1 a.m.?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
From school and all that stuff, just to keep that dream alive.
Wow. How did you even do that? Because I can barely function off 5 hours of sleep, much less 3 hours of sleep.
At this point, I still don't know. It's just like everything else. When you're at the last penny by the end of the month, and then you're just like, how did I end up paying my rent? How did I end up paying my bills and everything? It's just that. It's just all about making it happen.
What jobs were you working at the time?
At the time, I was working, different type of jobs. I used to work in construction, supermarkets. I used to work in restaurants. I pretty much did everything. Yeah. Back in those days.
How did you shield yourself from the rejection in Hollywood, whether it's based on a language barrier or based on like biological differences?
Well, I think it's all about being tough. Yeah. In Hollywood, it's a tough business. It's rough. There's so much stuff going over there. It's like facing your own demons, I would say. I look at it that way.
Did you encounter a lot of or any discrimination based on your race?
Oh yeah. That's an everyday thing. Nowadays it's alive and well. Discrimination in Hollywood, it's alive and well. It's still happening. It's on right now. And then what you do, you shield yourself. It's participating.
Okay, so can you help me explain what that means in your world?
When I say participating, is that a lot of the newcomers, Hollywood newcomers, or writers, or producers, directors, all that stuff, do based on your ethnic background. If you're part of the diversity of another culture, it's tough to get into Hollywood because of discrimination, right? So what you do is to put all of those your feeling aside, Yeah. You know that there's discrimination there. You know there's people that they don't want you there in the business because of the way you look. But you got to put that aside and just look forward and say, you know what? I don't care what people says. I wanted to face that myself. I wanted to experience that discrimination. I wanted to face my own demon. And that's what I did. You know, it's all about participating, going to attending those auditions. I don't care what they say, but that was my thing. I wanted to show them that I want to participate. Yeah.
So, like, how did you finally crack this wall that was in front of you?
Well, it was I would say I still remember this I call it as a miracle. It did happen in the most unusual way. Usually, when you break into Hollywood, you have to, knock doors. You have to get into the door, but I didn't. So my story started when I first started. My first experience feeling as an actor, as a movie star. I had that feeling. It was through this agent. So I used to work at this supermarket in Culver City, also known as the heart of filmmaking in California. So the idea of me working in Culver City in any job, it was to go there and see if I could meet someone in the film business, because Culver City, it's the heart of filmmaking.
So like you physically wanted to network, right? Be in the same space as everyone.
Yeah. Okay. At least that feeling, right? And I used to work at this supermarket, mom and pop supermarket, and then I used to work in the produce area, and most of the people that goes into that store, they work in the studios, because there were studios all over that around that store in Culver City. There's Columbia Picture, there's a Metro Goldwyn Mayers, there's MTM, there's Lorimer Picture Television, and back in those days. So the main movie studios, they were there in Culver City. So most of the people that would go over there in that little store, they were either actors or they were hand stage workers or casting agents and all of that stuff. So I thought to myself, this is a pretty good place to work. So I was working in the produce department, and there's this lady that would come and buy her lunch every day, and she would stare at me, and then I just felt uncomfortable because she would stare at me, and but then one day she said, you know what, I don't want to make you feel bad, but I think you have this feature that I'm looking for you to be in TV and in films. If you wanted to work in this business, I'm gonna give you my address and my phone number, so you could go over there and take a picture, and we're good to go. And then, of course, I was already, my dream is to become an actor, but it died a long time ago because through the years, it was hard for me to get a job. So I thought to myself, I'll forget all about it. This is not what I'm looking for, because of that experience that I have prior. I couldn't find any job.
So you were resistant initially, or apprehensive of the idea based on getting burned in the past?
Yes. Okay. Yes. So, and then she said, you know what, just go over there and I'll take a picture, your measurement, and then, we'll go from there. But I already know the business. So when you go in these places, the casting agent they will ask you money. They will charge you for pictures. They will charge you for their service. And sometimes struggling actors don't have that kind of money.
So when you say take pictures and measurements, like, how is that used in Hollywood? Okay,
so back in those days, now it's still going. So casting agents can see how you look like. Depends on what they're looking for. Let's say they're looking for a Native American, and they will look for someone that looks like Native American. So if I fit that description, I can audition for the job.
Okay, so
I'm not going to get a job, but I can audition for the part.
Okay, so it's like a database of different characteristics.
Yeah, and back then, forget the computers. I remember having computers. It's just all about black and white picture, 8x10 pictures.
Okay, so some kind of album that people scroll through.
Yes,
Okay.
8x10 pictures. Yeah, it's a file.
Okay.
They will go through. Yeah, and that was the way they worked back in those days. And I said, yeah. I tell her, I'm gonna keep going there. I'll do it. One of these I'll drop by, and then day goes by, nothing, because I just already lost hope on that, and on that career as an actor. And then she just kept bugging me. She just kept coming. D, are you gonna go?
Was there any part of you that was perhaps deep down resistant to trying out because you didn't want to get your hopes up and then be shut down again?
Yes. Oh yeah. On the discrimination part of it. Yeah, because that hurts a lot.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? Like so these aren't my words, but someone has literally told me to my face that America is the least racist country in the world. And when I heard that, I was like, that was probably one of the craziest things I've ever heard as far as racism, because I'm like, are we living in the same place?
Oh,
and what's even crazier is this same person looked at me and said, babies are born racist. I'm like, how did you, like, where does this idea come from? Because there's so much evidence that points otherwise,
I mean, what world was he living in?
Yeah, so California. So I won't say more about this person because I want the focus to be on like the idea that America is the least racist country. I feel like there's so much evidence where it's not, because it's not that I'm an expert on the topic, but it was so out of touch to me that it was like crazy that this person genuinely believes this view.
Yeah, I mean racism is everywhere, in wherever you're gonna go, you're gonna find it, even if they don't show it to you. But you could, like I said before, prior to this interview, you can smell discrimination, man. Especially as a minority, you can. I mean, it's out there. The way they look at you, the way they see you, the way they act, the way. It was tough. So on the late 80s, I experienced discrimination, big time. So that's kind of like, it made me like, just, okay, I don't want to do this one, because.
So how did this agent or this lady earn your trust and maybe somehow gain or provided confidence that you weren't going to be discriminated against? Was there any? Oh yeah,
it was. Because agents, they don't come to you.
Okay.
Hollywood doesn't. It will never come to you. You have to be like a lucky person to experience something like I experienced. So agents don't come to you. And that was the thing. That was something I felt like comfortable with. And then I said like, okay, I think she's not asking me for money. She's not. She comes every day just to look for me. There's something there.
So the fact that she willingly approached you was different enough in itself where it gained some kind of a worthiness of attention.
Yes, because again, she was African American, and here I am, Native Mayan, and then I told him, okay, if she's gonna offer me a job. I think that would be cool, and she trusts me, and she believes in me, because back in the late 80s, nobody believed in me. I felt hate back in those days, and if she's coming to me, she doesn't feel that, so I felt comfortable. So one day she comes and said, "D, are you gonna go? Are you gonna come to my office?" And I said, "Yeah, I will." But that was it. I think in one day, one of those calls, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna go, because maybe that's the day that she's gonna stop bugging me. That was the idea. So I went, and she said, you finally made it, huh? You finally decided to come. And then she said that I'm not going to ask you for money because this is what the people that they're looking for. And all I want is we're going to take your picture. We're going to take your measurements and you're good to go. I'm not going to ask you for money. That was it. And when she said that, that means she has no interest in financial gain. Yeah, because actors nowadays, man, they spend thousands of dollars, thousands, just to audition. You know, it's a tough one. Yeah, even casting online casting companies, they charge you a big amount of money just to do that, just to be part of that file. Yeah, they're not going to be active looking for a job for you. You're just part of a file.
Okay, so just to even be considered, you got to spend a lot of money. So there's already a financial barrier to get in.
Of course. It's nowadays it's tougher. Even though there's a lot more opportunities, but it's tougher. It's still tough to get in. Yeah.
Okay, so like, what became of that that initiation as far as the opportunities that arose from working with this lady?
So I went the last day I went over there. She said, I have your information. I have your picture. If there's any job coming, I will go. I will come to your store and then I will let you know. So I think a week, 2 weeks passed by, and she shows up. And as soon as I saw her, I was like, oh my God, she's here again. You know, bugging me again. And then she said, D, I have a job for you. Yeah, I have a job for you. Come to my office after work, and then I'll talk to you about it. And I said, yeah, I'll go. And then I went after work. I went to her office. It was like about a block from where I used to work. So she said, there is a job. It's a commercial, and it's about a cell phone company. And I remember it was the I don't know if you remember those cell phones, track phone. They call them, back there. They used to call them track phones. Is the foldable phones.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I at least people in my generation know it or refer to it as a flip phone. Yeah.
Flip phone, yeah. And back then it's just one company. They used to make it. It was called track phone. So, and then I asked her, what am I going to do? What am I supposed to do? And they said, well, the shot is going to be in a museum, and you're going to be a Native Alaskan statue, and you're going to be standing right next to this huge prehistoric lion. Okay. That was it, right behind the glass. So I said, that's all I'm gonna do. Yeah, that's it. And then it's a commercial about a cell phone. So these two couple are talking on the inside of a museum, and I was just standing right there. You know, prehistoric. I should say prehistoric man and the prehistoric lion.
So you and the lion were like the museum exhibit.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So I was just standing right there. So there's nothing to do. So I went over there. I remember 8:00 in the morning. I was there. They dressed me up. You know, painted my face, make it look like a prehistoric man. You know, Iceman, and I was standing right there, and that was it. And for the first time in my life, I saw this huge camera right in front of me. I was like shocked. My jaw just dropped and said, "Oh my God!" Now I'm in. You know, now I can feel what Hollywood's all about. That was my dream. That was it. So, and I see this bunch of people just hanging around. People are putting makeup on me, make sure that this lion it's on the right spot. Make sure I'm in the right place and everything. Putting makeup on my face, man. I felt it. I felt that was it. Now I can die alone, not with my dream. So that was it. And they did the shot, and it took me probably about an hour to do the whole thing. Yeah, and then the director says, okay, you can go home right now, and then you can just you talk to your agent so she can pay you. I didn't talk to her that day. I just went straight home because I was already worked my shift. So I just went straight home. And then a couple of days, she comes to me and she said, D, nice job. They liked it. And then here's your paycheck. So she handed me this check back in those days. And it was a $800 check. Yeah.
I feel like that's a lot for the 80s, right? Yeah.
$800? Oh my God.
Yeah.
In 1 hour? I was rich. I was rich. I told myself, oh my God, this is it, you know? And I belong here. I'm not gonna do this job no more. I was thinking, you know. So now the idea of a stalker about my boss, my agent, it was now I was the one who's stalking her because I kept calling her, said, do you have a job for me? Do you have a job for me? It was so funny, you know. She was bugging me first, and now I'm bugging her. So that was it. And that day after that job, I let her realize that there is people that believes in you. That's it. That there's people out there that believes in you, in your power, in your person. There is nice people out there that is willing to share knowledge with you, is willing to participate in your dreams. And that's the beauty of it.
Was there any other Native actors already established or on the rise back then that you could at least look towards as a model that this is a real thing, or were you one of the first ones to like experience that?
Well, back in those days, there was practically none. Yeah, not that I remember. There were a few of them, but I don't remember the name now. But yes, there was none.
So basically, there's out of none, or at least far and few that not that you can look towards at least.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So like, from going to this commercial to landing gigs inside Westworld and also Killers of the Flower Moon, like, what was that jump like, and how did you get to where you are?
So I kept my agent until today. She's still my agent because I call her my angel. Yeah, because she's the person who got me into Hollywood. She's the person who worked for me, who dragged me to this world of dreamers, because Hollywood it's a dream. And it happened for me. So after that, I started getting little gigs here and there. And back in those days, there was no international movie database, but I did a lot of work back in those days. And my first commercial movie, was Cold Stone with Brian Bosworth, and that was my first major Hollywood movie in '92. Yeah, I was a produce man. So, and that was it. There was this. I think that once I made that film, everything should start moving forward and start making films. You know, from there.
What's the audition process like, and is it different based on your race? So, for example, like, do you have to audition differently because you're Native and you got to do certain things that other ethnicities don't? Or can you help me understand what that's like?
Oh no, it's pretty much the same for everybody. Yeah, there is no such thing as this is what I experienced. It's just that if they're auditioning a character, a Native American character, let's say, there is just it's the same lines. Yeah, it's the same type of audition. There's no difference in that area. There's no such thing black and white when it comes to audition. You just gotta audition.
Yeah, how likely is it for a Native to get a non-Native role? Because I know we've seen examples of non-Natives getting Native roles, right? So, like, what's the reverse like?
Oh man, it's hard to understand that, because even though now that Hollywood sees diversity in a different forms, I would say in a different way, and they still cast. There's a miscasting there, and it just doesn't fit in. I don't know how they do this, but it just doesn't look right. It just look different, and it's tough one. They still follow that good looking path still. They're not following the right character. They still following like, oh, he has to have that feature that we're looking for. For example, the Lone Ranger, a recent movie where Johnny Depp was cast as Tonto, right? I mean, that's a miscasting. Why they didn't use a Native American character? Tonto was a Native American, so why did they use Johnny Depp? Yeah, it just didn't look right. So it's hard to understand how Hollywood works when it comes to doing that stuff. Even though it's been a change. There's been a change when it comes to casting diversity in films. Yeah, nowadays they look for that one, but they still work with good-looking people, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, was there a lot of backlash within the community as far as the movie Lone Ranger or movies like that where a non-native gets cast as a native? Or is that something that's almost unfortunately accepted nowadays?
Yeah, it's still accepted nowadays. Yeah, backlash doesn't work. I mean, they said, okay, we're not going to watch the movie because of what we've seen in films, that miscasting. But people still do watch the movie. So backlash, it just doesn't work, and the way this thing needs to change, I believe, is by participating in auditioning. When it comes to audition.
Yeah, what are your thoughts or feelings on even the next level up where Hollywood takes a native story such as Pocahontas and turns it into something completely different than what the original story was?
But that's Hollywood works. Yeah, Hollywood works that way. It's half fiction, half reality. If they wanted to follow that story, right?
Yeah, because someone was telling me the true Pocahontas story, and it's like it's pretty gruesome about what actually happened. And then when I found out, I couldn't believe that this story was marketed as what Disney showed up, right? Because it's like Pocahontas. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not an expert on this topic, but based on what I'm told, she was taken as a slave and she was taken overseas and sold, and there was underage involved, and then John Smith or whoever the main guy was not who he's portrayed to be in the movie.
Yeah, no, just like any other in other movies that has like a Hispanic story, for example, or Native American story, or Asian story, or African American story. There is half. Hollywood works halfway, 50-50, half fiction, half reality, to make it look, to make it look good, to get that flow going, like Titanic, for example, the story, the love story. Now, I like the upcoming film, Killers of the Flower Moon. It's a love story, but the true story is right behind it. But you have to have that commercial feeling, so it would be sellable.
Yeah. So let's jump into some of the more recent work you've done, such as Westworld, Echo, and Prey, and Killers of the Flower Moon. What was your experience working on these projects?
Oh man!
So let's start out with Westworld.
Yeah, Westworld. The casting, it was pretty rough casting. I went to 3 different calls. So there's 3 calls. Yeah, the first one, the second one, and the third one. So the third one is that you made it, right? So even though, you realign and then you have this look and everything, it's still hard to make it, because there's about 400 to 1,000 participants, struggling actors to get that part that you're looking for. It's a tough one, It's.
So I'm curious, like, considering that sometimes in these movies the native characters are like shown doing certain movements, right, but not really having a front and center presentation. How do they cast like lines for that? Because it seems like a lot of the characters, don't say much on the show to begin with.
Yes. Well, it depends. Again, it depends on the characters.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're a main character, sometimes you don't even get to have a line, but you're on screen all the time. So it depends on how the character evolves in the scene.
Yeah. So like in those situations where the characters don't have lines, how is the audition like? Is it you gotta be able to show a certain emotion or show certain physicalities?
Yes. Nowadays, Hollywood it's becoming more interesting when it comes to casting. People now, the audience are very picky on what they see. I don't know about you. When you go to films, like, oh no, this doesn't look good. Oh no, that's not right. The audience are becoming more picky now in terms of what they see. So Hollywood is learning nowadays that you have to have the right person on the screen, because people is gonna go after you and say, no, we don't like that film. And then, of course, they're going to get hurt by how? By saying, oh, I'm not going to go watch that film. So don't watch that film because it doesn't look right. So they're getting better when it comes to casting. Yeah, they have to have the right look. So in my case, I saw a lot of my contenders, a lot of the other actors that they were looking for the parts that I had, is that they were like a different feature. And I still ask myself, like, why did they pick me? Do I have that feature? Of course, I can answer that myself. Only them, because remember, there's a lot of actors auditioning for this part. A lot of them fits, a lot of it they don't. There is something there that got me that part. So they're very picky on when it comes to auditioning, and I got it. And a lot of these actors, like, there's a lot of Native Americans, they're very tall. They have the features, just perfect natives. And they're they got everything that I don't have. But why did I get it? It's unknown. Yeah.
Okay. So once you got the role, what was the process of working on the set like?
Okay. So on Westworld, once I got the role, I got the last call. I was skeptical at first, because when it comes to working in Hollywood, if you go overseas, or if you have to travel to another state and things like that, you have to think about it, because if you have family, you have to make that choice between, should I let go on this project, or should I go? But family, it's it's an important thing in your life, right? So I had two girls, Yashika Virvez and Leah Virvez. Those are my beautiful girls, my daughters. And Yashika, my older daughter, she's the one who encouraged me to go. I didn't want it to go because my younger daughter now, she's 23, but back then she was like, she was not underage, but I didn't want her to leave her home. So I had to make a choice. Should I take Westworld, or should I just, stay with my family? But my daughter, Yashika, she encouraged me just to go. Go, Dad, go. It's your dream. You got to do it. You got to do it. So yeah, I made that choice, and then here I go. I made a choice. I got to go do Westworld, and I was so excited. And the first episode, it was held in Mojave Desert. Oh, Ridgecrest, California, at the Tronas Pinnacle. I don't know if you ever heard of that one.
I've been to Mojave Desert once for a camping trip, but I don't know the area intimately.
Yeah, they shot many movies there. They shot the early Star Trek movies. They shot the Planet of the Apes movies, the Charlton Heston movies. Yeah, they shot. It's a very well-known place for filmmakers. So we went over there. You had to show up there early in the morning, at 3:00 in the morning. We have to be there on the set, and check in at 4. Since I was a Ghost Nation warrior, I had to get undressed and they'll have to paint my whole entire body.
Yeah, speaking of which, I think you sent me an image. Let's pull up what that looks like.
Yes.
Yeah, so like this is you as a Ghost Nation warrior, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so like was this a daily occurrence? You got to show up at 3 a.m. and start getting ready, or
Yes. This is this was little after 3. So they give you a cup of coffee, and this is the process. So they have to paint your whole entire body, and then do all this makeups, and all of that, all of that stuff. So it takes about at least on that one, it takes about 2 hours to do it. 2 hours to do the whole process, the whole painting process, and then I remember that first day. It was already almost close to 6:00. It was they were still working on me. So makeup it takes up at least about 2 hours. In my case, it took about 2 hours to do, and then after that you get breakfast, and then at 7. You have to. They give you all of your props, and just ready to, They have to make sure you have all of your tools, your weapons, and all that stuff. So at 7, you have to from Ridgecrest. It's a little town there. You have to take a bus. They take you on the bus from the hotel they were staying and all the way down to the set. So it takes about another, I would say 35 minutes there, and then get on the set. And then the set, that's another killing time right there, because by 8:00 you should be on set. They take you to this other location where they're gonna do the shots. So it takes up just to get ready from makeup to being in the set. It takes about 5 to 6 hours.
And what does a typical shoot last like? So, or look like rather? Is it a full day? Like how long do you have to be in costume for?
For us natives, for our parts, oh man, it was unbearable. In Ridgecrest, on the month of February, April, it's still winter, and in there in the desert. So I don't know if you've ever been in the desert in wintertime, in any desert. It's cold, and here we are, Native Americans, all of my fellow actors. There were settlers, right? There were cowboys and everything with their jackets on. All these ladies with the jackets, nice hat and all that stuff in real life. And here's a bunch of Native Americans. They're like shaking on the set.
Yeah.
There's nothing. We have nothing on that. Well, later on they brought these ponchos, huge ponchos to cover us because it was so cold. They didn't thought of that one. That we were the Native American was supposed to be naked, and that we have nothing on us. So we were shaking. A bunch of more than a dozen of Native Americans were there. We were just shaking because it was so cold that day, man. It's crazy.
How long did you have to bear that for? Is it for like an extended amount of time? Like
yeah, oh yeah. We're talking about maybe just to stand right there. It was so cold. And now you have to walk all the way right in the middle of the desert, and that's another story right there. You have to walk all the way down, and the cold was worst. The more you walk, the more the cold hits.
Was it windy too?
Oh yeah, very, very. But one thing that I have in mind when we were walking, everybody was, of course, they weren't mad because we weren't shooting. We were just walking to another location, but we were so disappointed that we don't have anything to cover ourselves with because it was so cold. But well, that was them. But me, inside of me, I was saying, I don't give a rat's ass. But I'm just happy to be in this business. I didn't care. I didn't care if my feet bleeds, but I was living my dream. That was it. That was all about. I don't know if a lot of your audience out there has the same feeling. If you're an actor out there, has the same feeling. They have the same feeling. Man, the feeling is just, it's unbelievable. You're there. You don't care. All you care about is it's being there, feeling what you dreamed of. You know, it's beautiful. It's so wonderful, and I was just happy to be there. And then you're so happy that you're doing all of this stuff, and then you'll later realize, oh my God, it's time to go home. It was 7:00. It was 8:00 at night. We still on the set, and then we still have to travel from the location to our hotel. That's another hour right there. So it was crazy. It's you pretty much working on a whole, pretty much a whole day there in those sets.
And how extensive or tedious was it to remove the makeup? Did you even remove the makeup, or you just kept it on for the next day?
No, no. They have to remove the makeup the same day. So there's a bunch of people there. They have to like remove the makeup with a special liquid. Okay. Yeah, and then you have to take a shower, and then they have to remove everything. But before that, of course, they take pictures. The way you look. So the next day when you come, you have to look the same thing like the day before.
Okay.
Yeah.
All the details have to match up.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did anyone get sick on set? Like get hypothermia or anything?
Yes, they did. I remember a couple of one of the native ghost warriors. She got sick on the set. It was too cold. Again, it was unbearable. I don't know how I got it, but I could feel it. I could feel the water in my eyes. It was hard to open your eyes and close your eyes. It was a tough one.
How cold do you think it was? Like in the 20s, 30 degrees?
I would say between the 30s and the 40s.
Okay.
But it was really cold.
That's definitely cold for being exposed bare skin.
Oh yeah, and in Hollywood, the thing is that it also it's changing a lot now. Back in the days, there was nobody cares about your safety there. Now I don't know if you know this, but there's a safety line in on the set. Every details in terms of how you take care of your crew, your cast, and it's very important. It's the most important thing, safety, and because it's a big production. Sometimes you miss those things, and so what I experienced there is that what they missed is the ponchos.
So I have to ask. I'm very curious about this. Is there any kind of dialogue or differing opinions, either within yourself or within the Native community, for Natives always being casted as like these warriors, or some might call it savages, like getting mostly those roles and kind of perpetuating that stereotype? Is there any kind of discussion or different thoughts on that?
No, I don't think so, because it's a reality.
Okay.
Sadly, this is the reality. Native Americans are always going to be a Native American.
Okay.
Whites are going to be whites. Blacks are always going to be black. So there's no change in there when it comes to portraying a character in films. You have basically what they have to do is it's to bring in this diversity in every project the right way. So for example, you were saying about the how they play this miscasting in films. Back in the days, Native American they were always savages. In John Wayne's film and Gary Cooper's film, savages. There was no such thing as good Native Americans. Now it has changed a lot. It has changed a lot. Thanks to those filmmakers, thanks to those directors, thanks to those writers, some studios, that they're seeing that there's beauty in every culture. We're not just savages like what what film portrays, old film portrays, that we have a lot to offer when it comes to stories. You know, cultures are richer in stories. And nowadays it's being told like in stories. Like, for example, the new Reservation Dogs, for example. I mean, there's a lot of beautiful stories there in a funny way. I don't know if you've ever seen those. You ever seen that?
Yeah, I've seen the first season, and I didn't really know what to expect, but I've grown to really be fond of the show because I have sources that tells me that it's pretty accurate to what the reservation life might be like, right? But it's told in the way where it's still accessible and still funny, and the humor, I guess, is true to reservation humor as well. So it's not just like random humor that's inserted or like doesn't match up.
Yeah, so it's stories like that. You never seen these before. I have never seen anything like that before. So now it's changing. Now it's getting better. Now studio executives saying this it's marketable. This you can sell this project. So there's a lot of program coming out, like Darkwing, for example. Yeah. It's doing good now.
Yeah, I seen a viral video or maybe a meme of like this native
spirit.
Not that one, but it's like this native person on either Instagram or TikTok that jokes around and plays into the stereotype that all natives are spiritual beings, you know. And he's like, because when I guess certain people meet him, they ask him, do you hear your ancestors or do you hear the forest or something? He's like, no. You know, it's like there's non-native spiritual people too.
Right, because they're all spiritual, right? Yeah, and it's real, like, because we grow up, we born with that, you know, with being spiritual, because that's what we've been taught, you know. That's our strength. It's being spiritual, and then it is important for us. I mean, it is important for different cultures too, because I don't know. Different cultures have their own spiritual way to make things happen.
Yeah, so this is one of the clips I like from Reservation Dogs.
Being a warrior, it's not always easy. You and your thuggy-ass friends, what are you doing for your people? It's easy to be bad, but it's hard to be a warrior with dignity. Remember that.
Oh, fuck off.
Oh. Body of Christ?
No.
You're lost. I had a vision. It's kind of crazy because I'm already a vision. They can't hear me. I'm a spirit. Your ancestors.
It's kind of crazy.
They came to me and they said, "Hey, you know that young warrior? You should go talk to him. Go say hi." And so, I'm here.
Are you Crazy Horse or sitting?
No. I'm not one of those awesome guys. No, I'm more of your unknown warrior. Yeah. You know my name? William Knifeman.
I've been seeing the spirit for a while now.
I was at the Battle of Little Bighorn. That's right. I didn't kill anybody.
You mean like dating?
I have a clip of my recent project. I don't know if I sent it to you, but it's on YouTube.
You see there, when I was a kid, Grandpa used to take us there to play. Now, it's all gone. There's nothing left. Nowhere to play. They said it's good for humanity. They said it's good for mankind.
What project is this?
It's called Takeover.
What future?
Is this a show or a movie?
Look at her.
It's a short.
Okay.
Yeah, she's wounded. She's dying. What future?
Man, you seem like a whole different person. Yeah, I mean that in a good way. You seem like a whole different person. What were some of the challenges of Westworld besides the environmental challenges of like being cold or long days? Was there any conflicts between like what the director wanted and then what the cast or what you yourself wanted?
Not exactly. I think everything just. I love working with Westworld with that project. It seemed like everybody was in sync. I didn't encounter no problem there, which what I encountered back in the days, right? This was I would say the safest. This was the coolest, was the nicest project, the nice set that I've ever worked in. Everybody was so friendly. We treat each other with respect, with professionalism. We were just. It was a nice experience for me. I didn't experience any wrongdoing there. Yeah.
Do you think that change happened because of society overall being more aware of racism, or was there any certain movements or organizations inside the movie industry that push for better treatment?
First, Hollywood has changed a lot. Like I said before, now they're more interested in diversity than before. I've seen a lot of more projects where diversity is involved. 50-50. We're not there yet, but I'm seeing a big change because there's a lot of projects out there. There's a lot of studios out there. There's a lot of thing going on in Hollywood. So it's good. Westworld, it opened up a big door for natives. After Westworld, a lot of things has it came in, a lot of production. They bring in a little more stories, native stories, in television and films. So it has changed a lot. And a lot of these, every little production, every little thing, it helps a lot.
Did you enjoy Prey? Did you enjoy it both being part of it, but also in the final movie? Like, did you enjoy watching it?
Yeah, I enjoy watching it. It was pretty interesting. Again, due to what you saw in the first film and the second film, I enjoy it because not only because it opened more opportunities for diversity in films, for natives in films. I enjoy it because it's happening. The movement, it's happening. It opens up a lot of stories, a lot of opportunities for Native Americans in film. So it was good. It was a good project to work in.
Yeah. So, like, what was your role for Prey, and was the behind the scenes similar to Westworld, or was it different from other productions you had?
Yeah, it was behind the scenes.
Okay.
And this one, yeah, I wasn't a warrior. I was just we were called caretakers. We were just taking care of our community from this predator. That was it. That was my part. It's kind of like similar to Westworld, but it was pretty much the same feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, and then was the work behind, like, the work to set up the movie, the shots, was it similar to Westworld?
Prey is more of a digital film.
Okay.
Yeah, there was some instance where we were just standing right there in studio, and then the rest was just shot on CGI.
Oh, okay. So rather than being out in the Mojave Desert, you were in a room.
Yeah. It's just some parts are kind of like probably not impossible, but it's hard to put together. So they have to do that one on studio. Yeah, a lot of those projects that are working, like they were held at the studio.
And do you personally enjoy that more, or do you like being out?
Oh yeah, no, I hate working in studios, man. It's not the same. It's just completely different. I like being on the elements,
because, like, I guess the real environment, you can feel like you're there, so it's easier to tap into what you're doing, right?
As an actor, you have to. It's not that you have to. As an actor, that would be the best place to be, because even the location itself helps you to become a good actor. Helps you to get into the characters in a better way. So it's always good to work on on location. I love working location. The only project that I did work on during the whole entire time that I was working on that project, it was on the terminal. It was made by Steven Spielberg. This was held in at the Mojave Desert a couple of years ago, and the whole entire time that we were shooting the whole project, it was inside of the studio. It was unbearable. It was crazy. It was so much thing going on that it just didn't work. Finally, it worked for them, but for actors and extras and all of that stuff, it was tough because there was thousands of people that were there. Thousands. It was the biggest movie I ever worked on because there was a lot of people that are being employed there, and it's hard to work in inside studio.
Okay, so let's jump over to Killers of the Flower Moon. What was it like working with this movie with Martin Scorsese and also with Abel?
Yeah, there was always a highlight in your career, because they ask me which project is the one that you like, is the one that you worked and that you feel like proud of. I'll say Killers of the Flower Moon for two reasons. One is because I always look after Martin Scorsese at his early work as a director. He is probably one of the most I say iconic director in Hollywood, and I always loved every I've seen almost every movie of his. It's just he's so unique on everything that he does, and that was one of my thing. I said I always wanted to work with this guy. I wanted to work with this guy. I don't know how, but at least I wanted to be under his direction. That was my one of my dreams, is to work with Martin Scorsese. And so in Hollywood or in when it comes to auditioning for a project, they won't tell you what it is.
Okay, so when you audition, you have no idea what.
Yeah, okay. Some of them just say, "Well, there's this thing going on," and they're looking for a Native American sitting on a park, and that's it. But they're not going to tell you what is it. So so my agent, Raina Hardy, that's her name, my angel. She called me and she said, "Well, there's this movie they're making, and they're making some of it in Hollywood, some of them Oklahoma. So I don't know if you're interested in it, and then if you're interested, let me know, and then we'll shoot them the whole entire information, and you'll go from there." So I said, "Yeah, let's go for it. I'll do the project. I'll do the audition." So I auditioned for it without knowing that there was a Martin Scorsese film, and I later realized that was a Martin Scorsese film. But I never got to, of course, on my shots. I had two shots. On one of them, I got to experience this direction, but on the other shot, I didn't, because I was a T-model drive. I don't know if you've ever seen those cars.
The 4T model?
On the 4T model, right?
Or Ford Model T, yeah.
Ford Model T, yeah. That was a crazy experience, man. And when I got casted for that project, you go to a training, and then after that you get ready for a shot. But the funny thing about these cars is, like, I don't know if you've seen them. I never saw them before. I've never saw them before. But these are the kind of cars that you have to crank it in the front. I don't know if you've seen them.
I've seen the Model T in movies and possibly museums, but I don't think I've ever seen one in person.
Yeah. There's a couple of those cars that you have to crank it up. You have to,
So it's kind of like a lawnmower, huh?
Yeah, kind of like that. It was tough, and I was telling my buddies that it was crazy because so we were doing all this training. Oh man, some of them just couldn't start, and then my arms, it was already like oh, I'm done. I just can't do this no more, because we were trying to start the car, and then there was another one too. So it was a crazy experience, because you're learning all of these props that you've never seen before in your life. You're learning from it, and it was cool. And it's driving those cars, like, man, it's going back, back in the days where everything was so rough. It was a crazy experience. And the other one, the main character that I play is an elder Native-American.
Also in Killers of the Flower Moon?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so you had...
So 2 parts.
Oh, okay, so a person can have multiple roles in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you still fit that description. Yeah. And then you only get to... it's kind of tough if the people that are working and behind the scenes, they do the job right. So in a scene, you only have, if you're an extra, for example, if you're a co-star, you cannot if your face is in one scene, you cannot appear to another scene. Yeah, so it has to be just one time. So if you're gonna play another part, right? So you have to do something different, makeup and things like that. So because people, again, they're very picky. Oh no, is that the same person that we saw in that scene? That's him. That's not good. Yeah.
So you can only have multiple roles if you're not recognizable.
Exactly.
Those roles. Okay.
Yeah. So in this one, I fit perfectly because of my age, right? So perfect council elder person. The Native American authority. Let's put it that way on the scene. So that was the only 2 characters that I play. Well, I wouldn't consider the T-model drive character. I was just a driver. But again, it's an experience. It's a beautiful experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna look for you when I watch that movie, because I saw some interviews with Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio. It seems like there's a lot of a weight put on this movie with relation to the Native community, right? So I can't wait to see it. Speaking of age, what's it like from your experience getting older with regards to acting and getting different opportunities or roles, or maybe getting less opportunities and roles?
Okay. When you're in Hollywood, it doesn't matter what kind of age you are, and you can still work in Hollywood. But the thing is that when you get to a certain age, the jobs are kind of like fades away a little bit. So when I was 30, in 40s, and then 45, you could still be active. You could get a lot of auditions. But once you hit the 50s, 55 and 60s and up, you don't get to see something like that no more. It's less opportunities there for work, and it's hard because if it's in your blood, acting, it's in your blood. If acting keeps you alive, or keeps you going, and it's just part of your everyday life, it's stressful. Yeah, it's hard because you can't find a job because of your age, not because of discrimination against age. It's because you just can't find that. They can find a character for you, But yet, I'm different in that way. I don't follow the rules. Let's put it that way. As an actor, so this is something that I wanted to talk to struggling actors out there. You see postings and whoever, if you have a casting agent, a casting director, and people like that, you get the memo, and it tells you exactly what the needs are, certain age, and then if your age, let's say if your age is 50, but you don't look 50, there's something's not right? So you gotta audition. You gotta go for it. It doesn't matter if you're 5 age younger or 5 years older. So you gotta audition because you fit that. You're in that particular timeline. So you gotta audition. I would say just go for it. Go for it. Don't follow the age range. Just go for it and audition. If you think that you fit that description, don't limit yourself there. Just go for it. Yeah, because 1 year or 2 years, it doesn't make that much of a difference when it comes to looks, because that's what they look for, looks. Because some of these people are like, 60, and they look like 40s. So I for myself, a lot of people don't see me as like I'm going to be 60 myself in 2 years, actually in 1 year. But I can fit that 50 description. So I'm not going to limit myself to that 60. I'm going to limit myself to 50. So I'm going to audition. So don't follow the rules. Just go and audition. Yes, for people at my age. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. That well said. What are your thoughts on how the Mayan language and culture was represented in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever?
I one of those films, I think I saw the first one.
Okay.
Yeah, and second one I haven't, but I think it was a good start for Mayans in films. Here's the reason why, and I feel I don't feel like this was bad for Native Americans in the United States, but I don't know if you noticed that the story behind those two films were so good about the portrayal of Native Mayans into that film. They were wise, they were smart, they were helping all of these other cultures in the film. And then how come Native Americans in the United States don't have that opportunity that Mayan has in films? So it caught me by surprise, because I thought it was a good representation of Mayans in film. I think that as Mayan, I think we have a pretty good start there. Apocalypto, for example, Mayans had pretty good start in films, because they're not being portrayed as savages like how Native American is being portrayed in films and television here in the United States. So to me, Mayans in films, it had a pretty good start, and that should happen. That same the same thing should happen to Native Americans here in the United States, because Native Americans are loaded with a lot of good stories. Native Americans are storytellers. They have such a beautiful stories to tell. Why not bring it into the big screen? Why not bring it into television? The same thing these huge companies did with the Mayans in those two movies. So it was a pretty good start for Mayans in that film, in those two films.
Yeah, I've been to the Yucatan several times, and there's even a street on Yucatan called Kukulkan, right? And I think that Kukulkan is the serpent goddess or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then the main, like one of the main actors, Tenochre in Wakanda Forever, he's Mayan and he plays Kukulkan.
Right. Yeah. So those that's a pretty good. That's pretty good on the studios. The studios did pretty good on that particular project, because they cast real Mayans, just like what Mel Gibson did in Apocalypto. Mm-hmm. They did pretty good casting, but that's the whole idea of a successful project when it comes to bringing stories of Native Americans in film. I'm talking as a whole, not just Native Americans in the United States. Native Americans as a whole.
Yeah, would you say that Killers of the Flower Moon may be that big launch for Native Americans? Because I believe it's about the Osage Nation, and something to do with the oil, right? Like the oil.
Yes.
The oil was discovered on the land, and then the government came in and pretty much took it. If I understand the story right.
Yeah. See, again, going back to what we're talking about, how is it that I guess Native Americans didn't do a lot. They they pretty much ripped them off their rights in every way since the beginning, since the when white people came to this side of the world, right? So I guess Martin Scorsese did a good thing talking about the reality of what happened in 1920s when this community of Native Americans were thrown in a land where there were no life at all. Okay, so in the film they moved on this lands where there was no life, but Native Americans were well, we could do it, we could survive, not knowing that useless land, there was oil under it. And then when they discovered there was oil, and they became the richest Native American community in the whole world, big time. And then what happens is that these people, bad people, they see that there's money there, so they just went in there, like what the trailer says, like wolves, and they went in there and just started killing every Native American that they see that they have a lot of money, and then take it. It's the same story in Latin America, where the rich take over the people who has a good piece of land there. That's exactly what happened here. So that's the whole the whole story, and I like it the way he did that film, because he tells the story of what really happens to Native American in this country, and opens up a lot more stories on what really happened to them. So that it changes a lot on how everyone views Native Americans in television and films. That we're not savages, that we're not killers, that we don't hate people, that we have our own story, we have our own culture, we have kids, we have houses, we got everything, So that's a change a lot, even though it was taken from a real life, but it educates you from what happened back then. Yeah, because there's no respect for Native Americans in the United States. And until now, I mean, the real owners of this country, they still live in reservation in places where they're not supposed to. These people should be in charge. These people should be well taken care of, but we're not, And it is tough out there, for them. And then there's this filmmaker like Martin Scorsese comes and tells the story of what really happened to them. It opens up a Pandora, a box of Pandora, saying this is what really happened. So more respect for them,
Yeah. How do you think non-natives could support natives, as far as like maybe the wider stories or certain movements, or even in the movie industry?
The native way, it's to respect one another. Okay. That's very simple. There, there's museums, there's stories out there that sometimes the system itself, it took it away from you, by saying, and there in some stories in school they don't teach you who the owner of these lands were. It's just like they populated, the people from Europe came over and just do this and do that and everything. But there's no such stories about this used to be Native American. They don't teach you that at school.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that the whole idea behind Thanksgiving was promoted for such a long time.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very ironic that this is a day where you're supposed to be thankful, but the story behind it is like completely different than what we're pushed with, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Rather than like a happy dinner that everyone got together, it was like this group came in and just kind of took over with everything.
Yeah, it's like in films. It's all about propaganda. It's just that's how they portray a Native American here. Oh yeah, this guy is a killer. This guy he's a bloodthirsty Indian, and that's how they portray Native Americans here. But like you said, how can we help to make sure these guys have they have rights or things like that? It's all about respecting these people. I've even though I'm not a native from this country, Native Mayan, there's some people that comes to me and say, you know what, I thank you for letting us stay here. I remember that happened in one of the sets, and I was shocked because again, I'm not Native American here from the United States. I'm Native Mayan, so I was shocked because someone from another culture comes and tells you that thank you for letting me stay here in your country and on your land and things like that. I'm sorry for what happened to you. And I've heard a lot of these stories, and I said, yeah, this is the way we help these people. It's by educating ourselves, not watching those old, John Wayne movies, or what Hollywood portrays Native American, what is in the book as Native Americans are killers. No, we got to educate ourselves. It's a lot of information out there from the beginning of this country, how this country was founded, and then there's a lot out there, respecting them, let them know that they were the ones, they were the real ones that started this whole thing. And that's how we could, that's how we could help them.
Yeah, speaking of like respect and something closer to home, how do your kids view you? Because what is it like having a dad that's in the Hollywood industry, especially having a dad that represents or participates in your own culture?
Yeah. Oh man. Both of my daughters, I have two daughters, right? Yashika and Leah. Every time I go out, we go hang around and everything. They feel that they have the biggest dad, the most popular dad, the most famous dad with them every time we're together, because people looks at me, people talks to me, people, all this stuff. It makes them feel proud of who I am. At first, when I used to live in Guatemala, it's not that I didn't like my origin. It's just that why is it that what comes in my mind is like, why is it that I'm different than everybody else? We're short, we're dark, straight hair, and we're not that kind of people that people are used to, right? In other in other sides, in other places. And now I feel proud of who I am. I embrace my culture, and that's how we should do it. And then both of my daughters are very proud of who I am and what I've done, and I'm proud of myself too, because I'm leaving something behind, so they could be feel proud of, and they're very proud of their heritage. They're just like, they wanted to be in that. They wanted to stay in that, and I try to encourage them just to be respectful for every culture in the world. Yeah, that's how we're gonna make a better world. It's to be to participate, to respect one another. That's the most important thing. I always teach them that the Mayan way. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like seeing you as example and pursuing your dreams, it's given them more confidence to pursue their own dreams and kind of lift up the ceiling on their dreams?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's of course, that's every parent has that idea for them to pursue their dreams for whatever they want it to be in life. Yeah, you just go for it. My thoughts with them, my experience with them is that I was brought up in a society where we didn't have nothing. Yeah, and before this interview, I mentioned to you that no prior education in English, in writing, in pronunciation, and in all that stuff. I never went to school. I regret that by not going to school, even though I had the opportunity to do it back in the 80s and the 90s. I never did. But that doesn't stop me to do whatever I wanted to do. It doesn't stop us. So for them, I always encourage them to see what I went through, even though you don't have no education, but that doesn't stop you to follow your dreams. And this is a huge weight for them, because they grew up in this, they were born here. Both of my daughters were born in Santa Monica, and they were born, learning English, writing English, and all that stuff. So they should be more. I should expect more with my daughters, because they have all of that stuff. And as far as I'm concerned, I didn't have any education, but I made it. So that keeps them going. That keeps their dream alive. For whatever they wanted to do in life, I know they're going to make it. And so they're so proud of what I've done so far.
Yeah, I love it. That must feel like such a good thing. Can you tell me about the work you've done with the Multicultural Motion Picture Association?
Okay. This company also has been a part of my life for so many years. And also that's just one of the greatest accomplishment I have done in cinema, in the films. So right before when I didn't do anything, it was the late 80s, when I just kind of like everything, I told myself, this is not for me. And I wanted to get into films in a different way. Probably not in films no more, because I was so tired of it. It didn't work for me. So I told myself, I still wanted to see where can I, be part of the entertainment industry. So I decided I'm gonna do something different. I wanted to work in other areas. So there was this company that it was looking for a press coordinator, Spanish English. So since Spanish is my second language, Canjoval is my first language. Native Canjoval is my native Mayan first, and then Spanish is my second, and English would be my third language. So they were looking for a bilingual Spanish-English press coordinator. So and I went to apply. Again, I did not know what kind of business was this. All I know it was a motion picture company, and I told myself, maybe this is a good place to do something. And then I went over there and then I applied for it. I got the job and start throwing press releases for all of the events that this company was doing back in those days, and started meeting people here and there. And that was in 1990. So he was making a lot of these pageant projects, a lot of these events, awards events going on in the Hollywood there, events, and that's how it started. It was cool for him to do this stuff, and I liked it. And the first show that he mentioned that he was going to do, it was that was in 1990. So he said he wanted to do a show to pay tribute to diversity in films, because back in those days there were just the Oscars, there was just the Nosotros for Hispanic, there was Essence Award for African Americans. So every group was separate in Hollywood. So Hispanics here, Asian here, African American there, and Hispanic in the area. So we were so separated in that aspect. So my boss, the late Jarvis Hutcherson, he he said that he was planning to pay tribute to diversity in films by bringing everybody into this organization and celebrate diversity in films and television. So so he was on the work. He was working on that project. And then he told me if I wanted to be in this project and then I could just learn the business. So it took me, year and a half just to learn how this thing works. And in 1992, we did our first award show. So what we did is to pay tribute in this event to give awards to minorities. Back then, it called the Minority Motion Picture Award Show. That was the first event that we did. We pay tribute to diversity in films. Just diversity, just minorities, and it was a success. And for the first time, he asked me to be an associate producer for the show. So I did put together the whole entire show. For that 1 year and a half that he taught me how to do it, I learned because I was so hungry. I was so thirsty for that dream to be part of Hollywood. And then here we go again with strange people comes to you and gives you that opportunity. It's so amazing. How can you find these people and around you? There's people around you that they believe in you. And these two people, my agent and Jarvie, they believed in me. And they said, you can do it. And they believe in me. And I did it. And then I became an associate producer on the first show. Pat Morita was there. Wesley Snipes was there. Halle Berry was there. Denzel Washington was there. And then I put together that show. Wow. It's crazy. And that was it. And I become an executive into that organization for until my boss passed away in 2017. So it was I worked there for a long time. So the idea behind this company is to pay tribute to diversity in cinema and television, based on my experience, on his experience, because we're not getting a lot of opportunities in Hollywood. We're not. It's tough to until now, even though there's a lot of opportunities, but it's still hard out there to get opportunities, especially for minorities. And for example, Native Americans, only 1%, and they only have 1% in terms of opportunities in Hollywood. 1%. It's nothing.
Is it because there's few actors willing to audition, or is it because when Native actors get casted, they're limited to actual Native roles and not casted as like non-Native roles?
Unfortunately, it's everything. Okay. It's against. Yeah. It comes from the writers. It's come from the studios. It's come from the way they do auditions, and it comes from casting the wrong people into that. It's pretty much everything. So it's tough out there, So we have to kind of like scratch whatever we can find there, Again, Native Americans are only 1% in Hollywood. Hispanics, we've been there from the beginning of black and white films, and but we're not there yet. There's only 7% of Hispanics representing being represented in Hollywood. So there is not much out there. So the rest, same thing. I mean, it's going to take a long time to see the real opportunities in Hollywood.
Let's jump over to the idea of culture appropriation, right? What are your thoughts on Native culture being so appropriated, especially by non-natives wearing or taking stuff and wearing it? Like there's Native prints on clothing nowadays, right? There's jewelry. There's the trendiness of dream catchers. native spirituality being adopted by non-natives, but practicing it in a very uninformed manner? Like, what are your thoughts on this whole topic?
Yeah, I think it's being commercialized. That's it's people that are wearing this all of these
Like, do you feel it's a necessary part of exposing the culture to more people, or do you feel like there's a better way to do it?
Oh yeah, there's always a better way to do it. Yeah. This is not the way to do it. There's a better way to do it. For example, one thing. If you really care about cultures, buy culture. Buy from them. Because a lot of these stuff are made by someone out there, but the real product, it's out there, and you're not helping that culture by buying their own products. It just doesn't make sense to me,
Yeah, when I was down in the Yucatan area, specifically Playa del Carmen and Tulum, I noticed that there was a lot of stores set up in Tulum, right? And those stores seemed to be stuff that was presented as locally made, but it was very apparent that it was made in China. But a lot of the tourists went to these stores thinking, oh yeah, we're buying Mayan stuff, but actually no, the real Mayan people were the ones, as far as I can tell, like walking around selling like personally,
Yeah.
But they seem to be ignored because
Exactly.
the tourists didn't realize that this is actually the real stuff. They thought the stores was real stuff, but the stores was just stuff that's like mass produced, not handmade anymore.
Exactly. So that's what I'm talking about, is that they need to educate themselves.
Okay.
If you wanted to learn about culture, educate yourself first, and then do the right thing. You want to be part of that culture, embrace that culture. Because that's what you want. That's what you're looking for. Because everywhere there's beauty everywhere. And if you had the means of going over there and visit that place, and then what you're gonna be looking for is looking for real people, the real thing there. You want to be part of that society. Buy their products. Don't buy other products. Buy the product you wanted to do that, and get it from them so they get help. That's how it should. That's how it should be done. That's the way I see it myself.
Yeah, the other thing I noticed down in the Yucatan, when we went to Chichen Itza, or Chichen Itza, right? That's how you say it. But my tour guide always said chicken pizza.
Right. That sounds better.
Yeah, Chichen Itza. The craziest thing to me was, like, this is where in front of this archaeological site, and right in front of it was a Starbucks. I'm like, what's a Starbucks doing here? But so there's two parts, right? One is Starbucks is there, but two, that suggests that there's people that go there and want to go to Starbucks over like the local coffee there, which is crazy to me, because it's like a geological site, right? Not geological, but archaeological site.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like sacred relic site, right? And so there's a lot of culture there, but you're choosing Starbucks over like the real stuff.
Yeah, it is crazy. It comes with the territory, and I guess this happens because you don't get to see American culture in other countries. So for you, it's like, this is new. Because I've seen mine. I lived all of my, I've lived to see all of the ruins, like the temples, Mayan temples, all of my life. And then all of a sudden, this strange little toy pops up, and of course, I've seen that before. I'm gonna go for this one. It comes with the territory. Yeah, and that's where the misinformation comes. So I always say that, if you want to embrace cultures, educate yourself. Just like what we talk about, like Native Americans, the life of Native American in the United States. Don't watch John Wayne movies. Don't watch Gary Cooper movies where Indians start killing, settlers and cowboys and all that stuff, because that's not true. You want to educate yourself. Just read books. There's a lot of good books out there. There's a lot of, podcasts like this one where, people share their own story, their real stories, rich, very rich. And why don't you just take your time and do that? Because there is a lot out there to learn about Native Americans. There's a lot of stories there that, oh man, it's like I was shocked to see, especially because of them. They're God for Native Americans, Mother Earth. And there's a lot of stories that we just don't care.
What are some of these stories either derived from Native American culture or Mayan culture that you feel people could look into?
I would think like now, these all these weather changing going on and global warming going on. That's a reality, and then we'll learn from cultures that we're heading into the right, into the wrong way, and so we need to learn from them. But unfortunately, there's a lot of these big companies. They're just going in there and doing the things. I recently did a short film about oil pipelines opening everywhere. There's this huge oil companies that are like trying to find out where they can pump oil, and then knowing that this is a mass destruction for our planet. So people don't care much about that one, And then to me, education is what it's all about. Educating yourself, where are we heading as humans? And because we're heading the wrong path. And then sadly, the governments in other countries, like the greenest country in the world, there are the governments are allowing other companies to go over there and mess up, big places where they can extract minerals and all that stuff. So it's just so sad that destruction it's alive and well right now all over the world, and we need to take note on that one and see what we can do about it.
Yeah, well said. What are some of the craziest things that you've experienced or witnessed while being on a movie set over the years?
Oh man, there every in every movie set that I've been, you always experience crazy things, and I would say most of the time that I've been in sets, it's props malfunction, yeah, and things falls and things just doesn't go according to plans and cameras are not working or directors. I mean, it's just normal, but yeah, it's just little things here and there. But some of the things that I experienced as an actor, at one point we were supposed to go to work Santa Clarita, right? So they gave us the right information. And all of the actors, we were supposed to in this project. And then we get to the set and there's no one there. There's no TV. I mean, there's no camera. There's no location. There's no trucks. There's nothing. So here we are, just trying to figure out what happened. Where are they? They giving us the wrong address. So it was. We were just looking for the whole entire day. We're just looking for that address because they don't get to call you. You don't get to call them. So you just all they say is like, go to that place and that's where you're gonna go. And then they don't give us like it's a rare thing if they give us a line, a number to call back just in case something happens. But that day, it was just probably one of the craziest things I've ever experienced. It's showing up on the set and there's nobody there. It was a crazy thing. Yeah.
Are there any closing thoughts you like to leave our listeners?
If you're an actor, if you wanted to make things happen in Hollywood, is that you have to sacrifice. You have to do whatever it takes to get there. It's there, but you have to work for it. Don't give up. Don't give up. I did that. But there's something within that tells me just keep going, just don't stop, keep fighting. And the other thing is, if you can make it yourself, there's people out there who's willing to give you a hand. Maybe if you wanted to end your career, your search today, maybe there was a guy waiting for you tomorrow. So there's always good people on your path. They're just like what happened to me, my agent, and my boss Jarvis Hutcherson, who founded the Multicultural Motion Picture Association. There's two people that believed in me. There's people out there for you, in not only in the acting but in other areas. So just fight for it, sacrifice for it. If that's what you want, go for it. Don't give up. Don't die twice. Yeah. Don't take your dream with you. If you're gonna die yourself, and don't take your dream with you. Fight for your dream. At least try it. Work for it. If it didn't work, at least you tried it. Yeah. But you're going to feel good about it. I tried it. I did everything I could. But I tried it. Didn't work. But don't stop there. Just got to keep going. You got to fight for it if that's what you want. And it happened to me. And I'm living a dream. Even though I'm not Robert De Niro. I'm not Brad Pitt. I'm not Johnny Depp. But I am part of this world where hundreds of thousands, I would say probably 1 million people looking to be part of this film, this industry. And it's amazing. It's to me, it's fulfilling. To me, that's it. Now I can die happily, because I made it. It happened for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I love a lot you said. Would you be open to saying something or speaking in something in mind for our listeners, for any potential Mayan listeners out there? Thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate you being here. Definitely looking forward to having you back, and you're welcome back here anytime. Really appreciate all that you shared, especially all that you've been through. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ben, and thanks for this opportunity, and take you out there. And I hope this would help you to just to have a good time by listening to my story. I mean, it's always good to listen to people's stories because they all have a lot. Every one of us has a story to say. So I'm happy to share my story with you guys.
Yeah, well said. Thank you.
Thank you.